Okay, it's officially 10 past 6. Good evening, guys, and once again, welcome back to Plastic Free July's live chats. This week we have covered some amazing topics done by some phenomenal eco warriors. Um, so on Wednesday, on the first day, we were chatting to the Beach Co-op, and that was hosted with Megan Rose. And we're talking about the amazing app that the Beach Co-op actually uses to track your waste when doing beach cleanups. We were also speaking a bit about the work done by the Beach Co-op and in their efforts using beach cleanups as a mechanism and as a tool to contribute to beating single-use plastic. On Thursday, we were chatting to Kim Williams, who recently launched a social media online platform called Cape Town Enviro, and we were chatting about environmental management in South Africa, legislation, and where we are at as a country in terms of implementing regulations and the legislation with regards to the environment. We also touched a bit on things such as public participation and the importance thereof. I just want to give everybody else a wave. Sorry. And the importance of things like public participation and just society getting involved towards the greater picture. And then on yesterday, Friday, which was day 3 of Plastic Free July, we caught up with a phenomenal woman, Alabella, who is the director of Miss Earth South Africa. She's the founder of Generation Earth, and she's also a United Nations environmental program ambassador, and she's a leader for climate reality. And yesterday we spoke about the programs that are done by both Miss Earth South Africa as well as Generation Earth. We covered one of Miss Earth South Africa's biggest campaigns called Waste Stops With Me, which is a call to action to individuals to start getting involved. And then we also caught up and answered a few mommy related questions. How she's able to not only be the voice for sustainability but embody and live a sustainable lifestyle while having a toddler and now most recently a 4-month-old baby. So we had loads of fun yesterday chatting about all the ways to make it fun and exciting, especially to get your kids involved. And then today we are going to be joined by the beautiful Nazia Wadee, who is the Miss Earth South Africa 2018-19. And we are just going to be talking once again all things sustainability. We're going to be talking about Plastic Free July, how to get involved in Plastic Free July, and how important it is for all of us to participate in campaigns. That is just a basic call to action for us as individuals to start playing our part in bettering not only the environment but leaving a better world behind for the future generations. I'm just gonna see if Nazia has joined us yet. Guys, just excuse my voice. Hey, I am ZZK, if I'm saying that correctly. Oh, Adila, you've joined. Okay, so we're just giving Nazia a moment. I see she hasn't joined us yet. And there she's just joined us. I'm just gonna make sure she's in. So yes, so it is officially day 4 of Plastic Free July, guys. It's not too late to get involved. You don't have to do the whole month. You can try it for a week, you can try it for 2 weeks, or you can get involved today and do the rest of July. Plastic Free July is a global movement that's been done all across the world. It's been in existence for the past 10 years. And it's basically a month where society, humanity at large can now take a stand and say that for the whole month of July, they will either refuse one of the many single-use item plastics or even all of them. The most common ones being takeaway coffee cups, plastic straws, plastic shopping bags, plastic bottles, Some people has gone the extra mile and have given up the use of plastic earbuds, which is amazing. Um, so yeah, it's a call to action to limit your use of single-use plastic, and then also to highlight the alternatives that there are out there for all these many different single-use items that we don't necessarily need to use all the time, because they sort of used so much because of the convenience that they give us. Um, so yeah, that is why we are hosting these live chats. We are doing live conversations with some of the amazing eco warriors throughout South Africa. And we just basically touching on certain topics and just hearing how they are basically making their sustainable lifestyle easier. How do they make it work? How do they get people involved? And how do they just continue the conversation and raising the awareness that we need? And there she is. And tonight we are joined by the beautiful Nazia Wadee, who I've mentioned is the Miss Earth South Africa 2018-2019. She's also part of the Miss Earth class of 2019, so she represented South Africa at the international competition in the Philippines. She is the Miss Teen Commonwealth South Africa for 2016. She has a Bachelor's of Arts in International Relations and Media, and she also holds her honors in media. Hi, Nazia.
Hi, Margot. It's so good to see you.
You look beautiful as always.
And you look stunning. I miss you so much. I miss you
I
so,
miss,
so much. I know
I miss you.
you and I actually had a lot of plans for this year to do a couple of projects
Yeah.
this year in Joburg and Cape Town. So I'm feeling it even more now, this plastic-free July without
Yeah.
you. Because last year we were together.
We were, and it was so amazing. But yeah, I think COVID-19 has just sort of put everything on hold. But I do miss you a lot, and I can't wait to see you. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are actually very excited to be ending off week one of Plastic Free July with you. But to kickstart the conversation, just tell us a bit about your thoughts around campaigns such as Plastic Free July.
For me, Plastic Free July, I think in the 21st century is the most important campaign in terms of our environment or environmental campaigns. That's because plastic seems to be one of our biggest problems at the moment because we're consuming so much of plastic and because by the year 2050 there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than there are fish. And from my experience, everyone who talks to me about any kind of environmental project or any kind of environmental work that I'm part of, they are always skeptical about, okay, but
Some connection issues. I'm losing you a bit, Nazia. Okay,
is
you're
that
back.
good? Okay. No, basically what I was saying is people don't understand why getting behind avoiding plastic is so important.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks it's something that doesn't directly affect them or they don't need to contribute or plastic isn't really a big problem at all. But the
Mm.
problem is that if by 2050 we have more plastic than fish in our oceans, we are consuming fish and various sorts of seafoods every day in our day-to-day lives. And what
We are Right. Okay. We are going to just have to get Nazia back in. Sorry guys, we are having a bit of connection issues tonight. Just bear with us. I'll just get Nazia back in. Um, For those of you that are just joining us, we are hosting our fourth live chat for Plastic Free July, and we are joined by Nazia Wadee this evening, who is the Miss Earth South Africa 2018-2019. She also represented South Africa in the Philippines at the international competition. She is the Miss Teen Commonwealth South Africa for 2016. She has a Bachelor's of Arts in International Relations and Media, and she also holds an honors in media. And just before we lost connection, we were discussing Nazia's thoughts around campaigns such as Plastic Free July, and then we lost you a bit, Naz. So I'm not sure where you want to pick up on that one.
I'll just try and keep it short and sweet. Plastic effectively it affects everyone. It affects us
Yeah,
in our day-to-day lives, whether we realize it or not. It's not the
yeah,
pollution that's just around us. Pollution affects our health and well-being. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I think only now do we understand how important it is to preserve our health. And plastic in our oceans is a detrimental problem. And what I was trying to get at earlier is the microplastics that end up in our oceans end up being ingested by marine life, which we inevitably are consuming, which means we are consuming plastic, which is entirely toxic for us.
yeah,
And I think it comes to a point where we all need to decide to take action in our day-to-day lives, where we need to say, this is my contribution, this is how I'm going to start reducing the amount of plastic I'm using in my home. Because really horrifying pictures of mountains of plastic that are just laying waste and just sitting there.
yeah. And in terms of the role of the media and the role that the media plays, do you think that environmental awareness is as effective as we would want them? And is the media playing their role and coming to the table and really elevating such issues such as climate change, the effects of plastic on our oceans and marine life?
Look, I think these issues, environmental issues, are definitely coming forward way more than they were in previous years. I think a lot more people are starting to understand the various environmental issues that are going on in our world. I mean, if I compare my environmental work from 2 years ago to maybe end of last year, I find that kids and people in general are a lot more educated than they were before about taking action against reducing plastic or any kind of environmental problem. And I find that a lot of people are more aware about climate change. I think the cutest memory I had was last year. One of our one of our family friends, his granddaughter, he took her to, I think, Wimpy for lunch or something like that. And the waitress came over, and the little girl's maybe 4 or 5 years old, and the waitress offered her a balloon. And the first thing she said was, "I'm sorry, ma'am, I don't want the balloon. It's very bad for the environment." And I mean, that was just the tip of the iceberg for me. That was amazing to see. So I think young people are definitely coming forward and educating themselves on how they can be kinder to the environment. But of course,
Yeah,
in terms of us as a country, I think we still have a very, very long way to go in terms of pushing forward environmental campaigns and supporting them. Because in the same
yeah,
breath, the amount of environmental work I have been doing over the years, I've had a lot of comments coming from people who have been saying, "Oh, but what is it going to do if I'm going to stop using a plastic straw? What
yeah,
impact is that going to make? What is the point of it? It's not going to affect me." So I think we are changing slowly but surely. But I definitely think as a country we need to make bigger and bolder moves in terms of moving our way forward to a more sustainable future, especially now during these times of the coronavirus where all of us are spending thousands of rands on PPE equipment to keep us safe and protected from the virus. But we also need to make sure that we are disposing of these things correctly and we are trying to use reusable options wherever possible, especially the public. We need to be trying to use reusable options as much as possible because I was driving around the other day and it was heartbreaking to see masks and gloves and all kinds of PPE equipment just lying on the floor everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a huge sanitation issue, especially at a time like this where saving lives and prioritizing health is such an important thing. And for me, this is where environmental and social issues become one. When there's
Yeah.
an environmental risk, there is always a health risk for human beings. So I think right now, as a country, we need to remember that yes, we're using all these various PPE equipments to or supplies to keep ourselves safe, and I want to encourage people to do that as much as possible. But let us be responsible about the way in which we dispose of all our PPE equipment that we're no longer using.
Using. And you've touched earlier on a bit about the projects that you've been doing under the Miss Earth and your projects that you've done. I remember if I look back on the journey, you were very engaging with school learners. There's one project of yours that I absolutely loved. It was the upcycling of plastic bottles and turning them into stationary sort of little bags for the kids. Just take us through some of those projects and how you were able to get especially our kids interested in environmental projects such as that.
I think the most important thing with young children is getting them excited about taking care of the environment. And I found that going to a school and standing there for hours and giving them a sermon about what they should do and what they shouldn't do regarding the environment is not very effective with young children. You've got to have a different approach, something fun and exciting that's going to teach them to really appreciate and love the environment. Because if you instill good green habits in a child or instill a love for the environment in children, you're going to have a future generation of people who love and respect the environment, which is exactly why targeting youth is such an important aspect. And I know you work a lot with schools as well in the same aspect. The
Yeah.
plastic bottles, I mean, kids are creative. Kids are super creative. And an amazing way to teach them to be able to use plastic more than once, to eliminate this idea of having single-use plastic, was to turn plastic bottles into pencil cases. And it was an
Yeah.
entire arts and crafts session. My visit at the schools that I'd been to were, it was just simply fun. We had stickers and decorations, and I did a demo of how to do the plastic bottles, how to turn them into stationery. And what was inspiring to me is throughout the session, the kids went far beyond what I had taught them. Some of the schools had sent me pictures of other items that kids were making out of other single-use plastic items that they have in their homes, and that was incredibly inspiring to me and way more effective than if I was just to stand there and talk to them about why it's important to look after their environment. And another thing I know you will know very well is the song that Ella had taught us about. I mean, kids love to sing and do things that are
Yeah.
fun. I mean, we have this really fun song that we go to schools and we teach them the song about saving water or making sure they're switching off lights or they're picking up papers on the school grounds. And these are the kind of tools I would always use in terms of approaching environment with.
Yeah. You're just reconnecting. Okay, you back? Okay. I don't want to lose you on the next question, so I'm just going to wait till my connection shows you back. Okay, there we go. So, what I've noticed is that not a lot of schools does environmental eco groups, they don't have a lot of those. Do you think that parents support environmental and eco groups as much as they would support a child that's doing sports as an extramural activity or performing arts as an extramural activity? Are parents supporting their kids enough when it comes to wanting to be more involved with environmental groups?
Well, that's a yes and no for me. I think because a lot of schools don't have any platforms for kids to advocate for environment, it's not an opened it's not an opened box yet. Parents don't know that it's a possibility for their kids. That this could be an amazing space for them to really make a difference. And at the same time, what places is working with the Youth Managers Foundation, of which I am an ambassador for. And I mean, for me, what we were going to do is we were going to schools in severely disadvantaged areas. And when kids don't have access to water or proper sanitation or even food at schools, it's very difficult to come to a school and go there and speak to them about picking up papers when that's not kids. Did you lose me there for a minute?
I did, but you're back.
Okay. Yeah, so I was saying that it's it's difficult to go to schools like that and then go there and teach kids that, okay, you need to pick up papers and you need to save water. When these kids, a lot of these kids are struggling with water and sanitation issues and hunger at school. And in order to solve something like that and teach them about the environment and teaching them a skill at the same time was to basically start veggie garden initiatives at these schools so that the kids can have a reliable source of hunger. Secondly, they're learning about the environment and they're learning skills that will help them throughout the rest of their lives because looking after that veggie garden is something that is their responsibility and something that they will have to do. And in doing so, teaching them a love for the environment and solving a social issue at the same time. So the response from parents in that respect was extremely positive, that they were able to see that their kids are doing something positive for other kids in their schools or for themselves. And in a lot of the cases, the kids would take extra veggies from the garden home for their families. So in that respect, we found a very positive response from parents for kids who weren't necessarily doing sports or very artsy activities after school, but were once or twice a week part of the Veggie Garden initiative and were learning to tend to the veggie garden and learn to look after it. They were able to help so many students in the school and help families outside of the school as well. So that one's definitely a yes and a no. I think
Yeah.
the idea is not the idea of kids getting more involved with environmental projects as an extramural is not emphasized enough, and that opportunity is not opened as enough as it should be. But in the same respect, I have seen extremely positive reactions from parents.
I'm just going to read some of the comments. Joe Wadee is saying environmental protection must be an important subject which must be added to our syllabus. Cape Town Enviro is saying teachers aren't necessarily equipped to lead an ECO group at the school. At high school, learners can champion this. Primary school is the problem. And I know we've been, myself and you, Nazia, we've had the pleasure of working with both high school and primary school. And we've sort of even taken the message into the communities itself, while outside of the actual school premises. And we've been able to see how important it is for the message to continue and to equip our kids to start things like food gardens and environmental groups. We're going to move on to the fact that you represented South Africa in the Philippines as Miss Earth South Africa in 2018, 2019. And being exposed to the international competition, you were obviously surrounded by so many women advocating for the environment, but specifically the Philippines as a country. Um, if you should compare where they are at in terms of implementing sustainability and you look at our country, what would you say is where are we at as a country if you should compare to another country such as the Philippines?
I definitely think from my experience in the Philippines, we traveled a lot. I was there for more than a month and we traveled to so many different places. And we traveled to not just big cities, we traveled very far into the Philippines, in the more rural, less developed areas as well. And I find that the Filipino people and the country itself are way ahead of us in terms of sustainability and moving forward towards a greener and brighter future. I find that the mentality of people in the Philippines is so different to the people here in South Africa, and it makes all the difference when people have the right mindset. In the Philippines, you'll see everyday people making creative decisions about how
Yeah,
to reuse everyday items or how to reduce plastic in their use of plastic. Even restaurants and malls have a lot more, they're a lot more conscious of the environment. So you see recycle bins everywhere, even in the most remote areas in the Philippines. I went to one of the most rural areas in the Philippines. I think it was like a 16.5 hour drive for us to even get there. And I remember that night that it's such a remote area and it's so far from the city. We stayed at the city's municipality hall for the night. And walking through the streets of that village or that municipality, it was absolutely spotless. There was not a single piece of paper on the floor,
wow.
nothing. And you would think it's the most remote area, but the people have such a love and respect for their land and their environment. And you can see that by the way their homes are kept. I mean, in the same area, I received a gift from one of the families that I visited in the area because each of us got an opportunity to visit a family in that area who welcomed us graciously into their homes. I was even gifted a basket that they'd weaved out of recycled materials. So nothing goes to waste in the Philippines. The people have such a great mindset in
Mm,
terms of making use of what they have and doing what they can with what they have. And the love and respect they have for the environment is incredible. And I know that the government initiatives there are incredible in terms of um, their contribution to the environment. I managed to visit all the armed forces of the Philippines. We visited the army, the navy, um, every single sector of the Filipino military and armed forces. We visited each sector and we had tree planting ceremonies and cleanups with each one of the military bases in the Philippines. And this is something that as an armed forces they do on a regular basis.
yeah,
So the men and women from the army or the men and women from the navy will set aside a day where they will go to a particularly bad area or a very polluted area and they'll just have a cleanup. And it's something that they are committed to as the armed forces of the Philippines. And they have various tree planting ceremonies and community initiatives on quite a regular basis. And that was extremely inspiring and a very effective way to tackle environmental issues because they have the numbers of people who
yeah.
have influence on the people and have the capability to really make a difference. And they use that platform exceptionally well.
Yeah. For those of you that are just joining us, I am chatting to Nazia Wadee. She's the Miss Earth South Africa 2018-2019. We are talking all things sustainability. We are talking all things Plastic Free July. Please drop your comments or questions. Some people are asking you to sing the song that that Ella taught us. um, so yeah, thank you so much for those of you that are commenting. I love to see you guys engaging us. Yes, the connection is a little bit bad, but we are coping for now. And then Nazia, sustainability is a global concept right now. Do you think that South Africa has committed enough energy and forces and resources towards truly not only implementing sustainability in South Africa, but ensuring that our citizens are more aware of the fact that sustainability is such a need right now?
I think we are on our way to getting there, to getting to where we need to be. I had the honor of going last year to East London to launch the President's campaign called Good Green Deeds, which is a campaign that is focused directly on addressing our ill waste management habits. And this program started with us going to various schools all around East London, and which then went forward to go to other schools in different provinces, like in KwaZulu-Natal as well, on the president's capacity to go to schools and teach schools about sustainability and environmental awareness. And like we were saying earlier, it's so important for kids to learn these values so that they can carry them forward through their future. So I think that campaign was definitely a start for us as a country. And the fact that we now have a carbon tax for bigger companies or industrial companies, I think is an important step going forward in terms of addressing our impacts on climate change. Another important thing that I think is extremely positive that's going on in our country is after visiting the Two Oceans Aquarium, I learned a lot about all the marine protected areas we actually have in our country, which I think is so important for preserving marine life and preserving our oceans, because South Africa's oceans are rich in diverse species of marine life, and I think it's so important to protect them. And I also know that Pick It Up also has their system of separation at source, which is encouraging every single South African, making it compulsory for South Africans to separate their waste at source so that more items can be recycled and more items can be reused, and we have less waste that is just going to be sitting there in our landfill for a long period of time. And in terms of addressing landfill, I don't think we're doing enough. We're running out of landfill space. And we really need, that's something we really need to target, I think, in our country, as well as our plastic pollution. We have some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, and it breaks my heart every time I'm at any beach. I find thousands of pieces of papers and plastic, and I mean, you clean it up and it's just back the next day. I think what needs to happen in South Africa, like I was talking about the people in the Philippines, it comes down to a change of mindset where we need to change our mindset, and there needs to be an effective campaign from government, from us ourselves, to really just address our mentality and make sure that we are conscious people who love and respect the environment. And I think that is what makes all the difference. And I think the Good Green Deeds campaign is a perfect tool or perfect platform to get people to that place where we can spread this love of the environment. And if it's coming from our government, it's even better.
Yeah. You're not only the voice for sustainability, but you yourself obviously have taken so many different steps to not only be more mindful, but also live a more sustainable lifestyle. And you've recently started working So in a working environment, how difficult is it to have the conversation of sustainability with your colleagues, and how difficult or easy is it to actually carry on those sustainable habits even in the workspace?
For me, I think I mean, everyone knows that I'm the difficult one at work, and making sure that everyone is respecting the environment, is disposing of their waste correctly. But I think if the work environment becomes a space that respects the environment, it's easy for colleagues and or employees to follow through as well.
Yeah.
If we have proper waste disposal facilities, if we have good sanitation, if we make sure that we are not overusing electricity or water at at a workplace, it's easy for employees to follow suit. Because if it becomes part of culture and part of mentality, it becomes exceptionally easy to do so. And I'm very proud to say that my workplace is incredibly sustainable. We have a group of very conscious, very young, very dynamic people who work there, who are very conscious of the environment. And what we do at our office, in terms of one of the things we do at our office to be kinder to the environment, is the way we save paper. I work at a I work at a law firm, and if anyone knows anything about lawyers, there's a lot of paperwork involved, and there's always a lot of printing and a lot of paper. So what we do at our offices is we make sure that we reuse paper. So if there's basically a stack of documents that's this thick, once it's served its purpose and we don't need it anymore, we then reuse the paper and the other side of the paper to print whatever new things we need. So we have the scrap paper system so that we don't waste paper, and all our paper at our offices are recycled as well. So because we are actually two houses away or 2 blocks away from a recycling plant. So
Oh,
that's a
wow.
very, very good thing for us. We always make sure that our waste from our offices is disposed of correctly. And conveniently, we're located very close to a recycling center.
Yeah, and obviously it's the small things that we do that will ultimately contribute to, just a better environment that we want. So what are some of the sustainable things that you do on a day-to-day basis in your own sort of space, to make sure that you continue, embodying this sustainable lifestyle that you want for all of us?
I think something interesting for ladies is that we constantly have to remove makeup every single day, or a lot of the time. It's an issue we always have, and we're using thousands upon thousands of cotton buds every single day.
Mm.
I'm thinking of this because when I was getting ready for this video, I was doing my and
Yeah.
thinking about a few years back when I would have to think about the process of removing my makeup. I would have to use maybe 5 or 6 cotton swabs just to get everything off of my face. And what I recently found was a product actually from Mr. Price. Mr. Price now has a beauty line as well. And they
Okay.
have these washable cloths. It's like a makeup eraser. I know there is also a brand called Makeup Eraser, which is also really good. And Mr. Price has the exact same thing. It's a fluffy piece of cloth. And it costs about 35 rand. And I think there was 2 of them in the package. You add your face wash on there and it removes your makeup perfectly. And it's absolutely reusable. It's a little towel like this. It's about this big, and you can use it over and over again instead of spending hundreds of rands
Yeah.
on cotton swabs, and also contributing positively to the environment because you're opting for a more reusable item than something that you're going to use once and throw away and it's going to last forever. And I know
Yeah.
people don't think cotton swabs are pollutants, but the outside of them are ringed with a type of plastic material that
Yeah.
doesn't really biodegrade.
Break
That
down
was the
as easily. Yeah.
exactly. That was one of the things that that I thought of when I was getting ready for the interview today. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's small,
Yeah.
small things like that. People don't think that saying no to a plastic straw is a big deal, but it's a huge deal. It's one less straw that's going into the environment. So opting for a reusable straw, it seems like such a small thing. Something else that I love to do is, especially when I go shopping, is bringing your reusable bags when you go to the supermarket instead of taking plastic bags or the plastic packets from the supermarket themselves. And I know now that a lot of supermarkets have opted for paper bag options, which is amazing to see that it's
Yeah.
becoming easier for us to be kinder to our environment. A lot of other things that we like to do at home is if we have a lot of wet waste, like wet waste as in your kitchen waste, like your offcuts from your fruits and vegetables, or tea bags, or anything that can decompose, instead of throwing it in the bin, you can throw it in your garden instead. And
Yeah.
it becomes an amazing fertilizer for your soil, and you are making less waste in your home. And I think that
Definitely.
that's as simple as it is. We need to, that's, I think, my goal is to try at least make one good green habit for myself. And it's as simple as that, because being kinder to your environment, it's not so much as an advocacy. It's more of a lifestyle choice. And it's
Yeah.
about adjusting and altering your lifestyle choices to be kinder to your environment.
And soon they'll become habit.
Exactly. When it takes 21 days to make a habit. So if you
Yeah.
start committing yourself to doing one thing, like maybe maybe it's a product you buy every single day in your home, like shampoo. I know that shampoo bottles are extremely bad for the environment. And they don't decompose, and they lay in the oceans or they lay in landfill for thousands of years before they can even start to break down. Choose products that are environmentally friendly, or that are packaged in environmentally friendly plastics,
Packaging. Yeah.
or whatever it is. I know shampoo is so important, everybody needs it, but I know
Yeah.
brands like Organics, all their products are packaged in biodegradable plant-based packaging, which is good
Yeah.
for the environment. Sanitary towels, opt for reusable options where you can, or I know now there is a lot of options. There are a lot of
Yeah.
biodegradable options that are available, little things. So if I can encourage anyone, choose one thing in your life that you feel you can change, the easiest thing for you to change, and start with that.
Yeah. Nazia, we are celebrating Plastic Free July, so I just have to ask, what is the one thing that you've decided either to recommit to or to actually give up for Plastic Free July, and why that specific item?
That's a very good question. Um, So for me, I mentioned particularly the shampoo bottles because I always felt horrible about having to throw them away when I knew
Yeah.
they were going to be sitting around for a long period of time. And I recently found out that the brand Organics, their range of products is completely plant-based. So it's 100% recyclable, which makes me feel a lot better. I mean, the product itself is really good. And the fact that I'm being conscious as well while using the product made me feel a lot better. So for me, it's eliminating a lot of cosmetic items that are packaged in material that cannot be used again.
Yeah.
That's definitely something that's harder to do. I'm now at that point of my plastic free July where I'm doing the stuff that's a little bit harder to move away from, but
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there slowly.
Nazia, thank you so much for joining us this evening. For those of you that joined us a little bit later, we are chatting to Nazia Wadee, who is the Miss Earth South Africa 2018-2019, and she also represented South Africa at the International Miss Earth in 2019. This evening, we were chatting to Nazia just about her thoughts around Plastic Free July campaigns, how she, during her journey, has made it more attractive and raise awareness, especially amongst our kids, for them to get more involved with just adding to the concept of sustainability. We've touched a lot on reusing and upcycling items. I just asked Nazia, what is she giving up for plastic-free July? And we were discussing shampoo bottles, which, funny enough, shampoo and conditioner bottles, sort of the conversation started on Wednesday with my very first interview. When I was chatting to Megan from the Beach Co-op, and she was saying she uses shampoo bars, but she can't find conditioner. And it's just so
Yeah.
hard to find a good conditioner, especially if you wear your hair naturally, to find it in a more sustainable packaging, you know. So that has been part of the conversation since the beginning. But Nazia,
I
is
think
there anything else that you
it's,
just want to add in
I was
terms
just saying,
of your thinking?
I definitely think that that was, in terms of sustainability and being more conscious in your home, that was one of the harder things that I needed to tackle.
No, I think that everybody sort of touched on that this week, actually. There's always that one thing, even Ella, for Ella yesterday, because we touched a bit on being a mommy and sort of still maintaining sustainability. And she was talking about nappies. So for the whole week so far in conversation, everybody has mentioned one item that's just really difficult to sort of say that I can officially say that I'm refusing it. But the aim of such campaigns, I think it highlights that we don't expect people to do it perfectly. Um, you can continuously keep trying to find new ways. And I don't think we'll ever get to a point where we are completely rid of the need for single-use plastic because everything in some way has a plastic component to it. I think it's just a matter of trying to evolve and adapt and finding ways to, even if I do use something and I can reuse it or I can upcycle it or I can even create eco bricks from it, that there are those options that we can start taking to say that I might not be able to go completely without example balloons, but I can create eco bricks from them and then recreate something else, like in my garden, building toy houses. I've seen some amazing articles where they're building schools and nurseries with eco bricks, and I think that's just such an amazing concept to showcase how we can not only understand better how we can play our part, but also show us how alternatives is becoming more and more part of our future in order for us to better the planet that we are living on.
Exactly, I couldn't
Um,
agree more. I mean, that was something that I saw a lot of in the Philippines. A lot of campaigns and initiatives to use eco bricks to build schools. And
yeah,
it was a completely inexpensive way to solve a lot of issues. I mean, okay, we don't have enough schools in this area and we don't necessarily have enough funds to build one. But here we have a simple and cost-effective solution to building X amount of classrooms that we need by
yeah.
using something like EcoBricks, which I think is was amazing to see.
Yeah. Nazia, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and thank you for just sharing a bit of not only your journey but your insights with us as well. We want to wish you an exciting rest of Plastic Free July. Thank you so much for ending off our week on such a high note. To all of you that has joined us, thank you so much for all your comments. And for engaging with us on this in this conversation. It is day 4 of Plastic Free July. It's not too late to get involved. Even if you want to do 1 week, 2 weeks, 21 days, or if you want to start today and just do the rest of the month, feel free. Nazia pointed out so perfectly earlier, it takes 21 days for something to become habit. Um, so it's never too late. And like I always say, if you change nothing, nothing will change. And even in isolation and during lockdown, we can still practice and join the challenge of Plastic Free July. So, guys, have a wonderful weekend. And again, Nazia, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really great chatting to you. I think we haven't done this in a long time, and
Yeah,
I'm feeling very, very optimistic about all the wonderful engagement we've had with people over this conversation. And I think it's a perfect way to show that people do care about the environment and things are changing for the better. And I mean, Margot, like you said, for Plastic Free July, if I could give like one last message, you don't have to move mountains to be kinder to your environment or to be more sustainable in your homes. It just takes one good green habit for you to make the world of a difference. So don't be too hard on yourselves this Plastic Free July. Start with one thing and then move from there. It's simple and it's easy. I'm still getting there. I know, Margot,
We
you
all
are.
are.
We all are getting there. It takes time and it takes patience and it's a process of elimination. Okay, let me start with one thing and build from there. And
And it's about retrying everything all the time, even if you do it imperfectly.
exactly, which we all do. But the fact that we're trying and we are actively trying to make a difference, that's all that we need. We just need everyone to start this Plastic Free July with one thing that they want to start eliminating from their home, choosing any item from their home they want to start eliminating. And hopefully we can do this live again next year, Plastic Free July. And hopefully everyone who's joined in on this live will be able to tell us how many different things they have managed to reduce on, or
Definitely.
how many items in their house are now eco-friendly.
Indeed. You can follow more of Nazia's journey on Instagram. It is Nazia underscore Wadee. And you can also follow myself for more environmental eco tips. We are releasing them every day. And we are also chatting to some amazing eco warriors throughout South Africa for the whole month of July. So we have amazing interviews lined up next week. So do stay tuned on my Instagram page for more information about that. See you, hun.
Bye.